Whoops. Anyway. All right. Well, welcome to We Are Texans Wednesday. I'm your host of the channel, Curtis Brown, and joined this week by Drew Dougherty, host of Texans TV. This is his fourth time on the channel, and we're very appreciative that he's taken some time out of his busy schedule to give us a little bit of it. So, Drew, first, how are you doing, man?
I'm great, man. Great to be with you again. It's fun that the season is approaching. We're 1 week away now from preseason opener up in New England. So, yeah, we're rocking and rolling, man. A week into camp and a week away from the first preseason game.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited, man. Football, I've missed it. I've missed it. I don't like the offseason. It's just a lot of speculation, and it's just boring.
I'm with you, man. I can't wait for it to get going.
So let's start this off. Mechie's back. He's not just back. He's all the way back from both his knee and his cancer diagnosis. So realistically, that makes him as long as he plays pretty well, he's a comeback player of the year candidate, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it's like you said, the key words are he's got to play well. He's got to get out there and produce. We'll see how much he does. He's had a nice camp so far. He spoke today. He talked about how he feels like he's 110%, feels better than he even did while he was in college. And think about it, a year ago, his road back from an ACL tear in the SEC championship game in 2021, that was going to be a long road back as a rookie. And then the road back got stretched out even longer with the APL, diagnosis. So it was really, really tough going for him. He persevered. He said, yeah, I'd be lying if I said the doubts about whether I should keep playing didn't creep into my head in the early stages of it. But, he credited a good support staff at MD Anderson. He credited the Texans. He credited the Alabama community, from Nick Saban all the way down to a lot of other folks. So he had a lot of help, most of all his family, which the toughest part he described in all of this was just being in a different country from his family, because of the Canada connection there. But it's going to be fun to see what he can do if he's the player who the Texans think they drafted a year plus. He's going to be an important part of this offense. Don't know how soon that's going to be. Might not be this year. He might be kind of dipping his toes back in and getting back accustomed to things, because it's been a long time, man. Just the ACL alone, returning from that's a big deal. But you add this double whammy, he hasn't played football in a long, long time. But it has been so very encouraging to see him out there on a pretty regular basis now through the first week of camp. And it was fun to hear him talk today.
Yeah, I managed to watch a little bit of that press conference before we went live. He seems to be in amazing spirits, and it almost seems like he's ready to start talking about football. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and D'Amico Ryans has said he's an inspiration to me. He uplifts everyone's spirits around here. And then on top of that, he said he's a playmaker, and he's making plays out there. So let's hope it keeps up and continues on into the season if he's able to make that happen.
Well, let's keep talking about playmakers in camp. What are some early camp standouts?
Goodness gracious. Jalen Petrie seems like he's everywhere, as well as Will Anderson Jr. He's looked outstanding. I can't wait to see both of those guys on the field. Dameon Pierce still looks like Dameon Pierce, man. And that was a great thing when he was on the field last year. He was a breath of fresh air in what was a very dark season, 13 losses. That's tough. But he was somebody that, gave you some hope and gave you some optimism for the future. Those are three that sort of stand out to me the most. Blake Cashman, the linebacker, he's been known specifically for his special teams play. He's been excellent there. But he told me, hey, I've switched to or not switched, but I've been focused on just playing the Sam linebacker position. The coaches have told me to kind of take that and own it and run with it. And he's made plays. He's had a few interceptions in camp. He's around the ball all the time. So he's been very, very impressive. So just to start out, I think those four are the first four that come to mind.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we need all those guys to step up. Petrie had a phenomenal year last year. Yeah. Some people would say that he might have been snubbed for All-Pro or a Pro Bowl. I would agree with that on some level. A phenomenal rookie year with 5 interceptions. I've been seeing a lot of Derek Stingley picking off a couple passes and taking one back to the house. man, I really hope he's the truth. This man, yeah, I don't know. I just Derek Stingley needs to be our guy, our rock at that corner position, and I want to see him take several steps forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think he took those steps to a degree last year. He just got hurt middle of the way through, but you didn't see him get challenged all that much as a rookie. Part of that obviously was because teams were able to run the ball pretty effectively against the Texans. So they didn't have to throw it too much. But even when they did throw, it wasn't like he got challenged too much after that Denver game when the Broncos went at him and they had some successes early, but then Stingley made some plays and broke up a touchdown pass, knocked a guy, upended a guy in the flat on a play, and then he didn't get really picked on much after that. I'm sure here and there perhaps, but he was very, very effective when he was out on the field, and I think he's going to take a step forward as long as he's on the field this year and be that guy that almost was universally respected around the league when he was picked 3rd overall last year.
What first impressions do you have as DeMeco as a coach? I know you've been in the building since he was a player. So obviously there's going to be differences in the way he's approaching things, but what are the differences between him as a player and him as a coach?
Same old, same old. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind with him. I mean, I go back to the last few days of 2005, and I was a young reporter anchor out in Lubbock, Texas, covering the Texas Tech Red Raiders. They were playing in a Cotton Bowl against the Alabama Crimson Tide. It was the 2006 Cotton Bowl, so like the second day of 2006. But at the end of that year, a few days before the game, the two teams are in Irving, and I remember going to a hotel ballroom at the Omni, and there were about 10 different Alabama players sitting at a table apiece, and you could go up and kind of leave and get interviews with them sort of on a casual basis. And I went and I didn't know much about him. I knew, okay, this is the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, he's somebody we need to talk to. And I went and talked to him and asked him questions. Very, very smart, very, very impressive. The thing that stuck with me was he kept saying, we're not going to need to blitz these guys because we play and we win up front with our front four. Well, he wound up blitzing a couple times and got 2 sacks. And when he blitzed, it looked like he'd been shot out of a cannon. I mean, he just dropped the Tech quarterback, Cody Hodges, like that. So I remember storing that away and not really thinking about him too much for the next 3-4 months. Then on draft day, you got to remember, draft was Saturday and Sunday back then. First few rounds were on Saturday. Last few were on Sunday. Texans make the big move, and they sign Mario Williams, 1st overall the night before. So then I'm wondering, well, what are they going to do after that? Wasn't really a fan of that initially. And obviously, they made the right call. Mario was the right call. When they took DeMeco 2nd overall, I was like, I like that. I like that a lot. And he came in. Think about it. He wasn't even the first defensive player drafted on his own team in that class. Yet he instantly, when he got here, it didn't take long before he took that defense, took that team by the throat and led it. And he's the greatest leader as a player that I've seen in Texans history. And that's all been the same as a head coach. It seems like he wields, and commands respect and demands respect, and he's getting it. And guys, we heard today from Jonathan Grenard, when he says something, when DeMeco says something, we know that there's no BS behind it because he played at a very high level in the league. And he's been coaching at a very high level as an assistant in the league very recently. So my first impressions of DeMeco are just the same as they were a long, long time ago. Very, very high, with seeing just a very effective leader who demands excellence.
Okay. I mean, that's what you want to hear. I mean, I was excited to have him come in as the coach. I know he's going to be one of the player coaches to where he relates to everybody very well. Like his internet. Can you hear me? Internet's a little buggy, I guess. He'll be back in a second. I'll figure it out. Yep. I don't know. Must have been internet or something.
Okay.
I don't know. Sorry about that. Yeah. Okay.
That's all right.
Um,
I was going on and on with Rico. Did you hear what I said?
yeah. Well, I heard everything. There was, I think it actually got to a point where I was about to start saying something anyway. So,
Okay.
I think we'd come to a natural end at that one. But anyway, so the biggest sleeper in this draft class, we haven't talked since the middle of the season last year. So the draft class, pretty solid draft, if I must say. Who's the biggest sleeper?
Goodness. I guess if you really want to go sleeper, who's the last, one of the last rounds taken? Xavier Hutchinson, Iowa State receiver. I just interviewed him today. I mean, it's hard to say a first-team All-American is a sleeper, but I guess depending, since he was picked so late, you could add him in. But I think he looks like he belongs when he's out there. He's a big young man, 6'3", around about 200 pounds. He can play. It seems like every time the ball goes his way, he's making a catch. I would say Tank Dell, but you can't really call a third rounder a sleeper. He's got an excellent connection so far, I think, with CJ Stroud. It seems like every pass that CJ throws to Dell gets caught for a gain. Can't say that about everybody else with, and that's all the quarterbacks, but it seems like those two in particular have a very nice connection. So I guess if you got to go with sleepers, them. But then if you really want the sleepiest of sleepers, it's probably got to be one of the linemen, right? Because no one ever talks about interior offensive linemen as much as they do a flashy pass catcher. So I suppose you could go with either Scruggs or Patterson.
That's true, especially with how versatile we're going to need them to be, kind of figuring out guard and center position, backup depth. And Quesenberry got hurt today, didn't he? No? Did Scott Quesenberry get hurt today? Can you hear me?
I think you're asking about Quesenberry. I don't know what exactly happened, but he did get carted off the field. We'll see what becomes as tough. So yeah, he's somebody that started a lot of games. He was having a pretty good camp. So we'll see what they say about him. But yeah, you never want to see anyone go off the field on a cart ever.
Yeah. Sorry. I was okay. So Scruggs and Patterson, I was saying that they would be, leaned on to be versatile in the offensive line group as guard, center, depth. And with Quesenberry going down today in practice, they're going to be asked to do a little bit more now. So, yeah, I agree with them being sleepers. So we got a little bit of time left with you. Mills and Stroud, how have they been off the field with each other?
I mean, I think they've been great. They both speak highly of the other when they're asked about each one. So I think they've been fine. They're both professionals. I mean, they've from moment one as a Texan, whether it was Mills 2 or 3 years ago and whether or Stroud a few months ago, they've been nothing but consummate professionals. They just want to get better. They want to be the best they can be, and they're doing that. I think they're pushing each other, and they're making a good competition. I think obviously Stroud, it'd be an upset, a surprise if he was not the starter. But Davis Mills has given him all he can handle as far as the competition goes and doing a good job.
Yeah, and Mills is trying to make a stand. Got to respect that.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's exactly what you want to hear. I mean, you want to see those guys pushing each other and whatnot. Okay. Any undrafted guys of note? Valladay?
Yeah, the running back. He's made some plays. He's somebody to keep your eye on. You always want to keep an eye on an undrafted rookie running back. If you're a Houston Texans fan, if you go back to 2009, Arian Foster kind of helped make that a possibility. But I like what I've seen from him. He's a productive player in college. Was a productive player in college, so he's maybe somebody to keep an eye on for sure. And I'm sure I'm leaving out about 4 or 5 other names, but he's the one that kind of comes to the first to mind as far as the undrafted guys go.
All right. Well, Drew, we're up against it here, so I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I appreciate your time.
Always good seeing you, man. Yeah.
Always good to see you
Having
too.
me on.
Maybe next time I won't have as many technical difficulties and it'll go a little smoother.
It happens.
Well, folks, thanks for watching, and be good people.